Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you're just stepping into the world of academic research, you probably know that facing your first literature review can feel, well, like staring up at a massive, insurmountable mountain of texts. But today, we're going to totally transform what usually feels like a daunting chore into a really clear, highly actionable strategy. Think of this as your hands-on workshop for tackling that first literature review. By the time we wrap up, you're going to have a step-by-step framework to not just read the literature, but actually master it. Let's get started.
Here's our quick agenda for today's workshop. We're going to cover Section 1, the Literature Review Myth. Section 2, True Function, Knowledge Bridge. Section 3, Strategy for Gathering Sources. Section 4, Thinking Tool, Literature Matrix. Section 5, Writing Thematically. And finally, Section 6, Connecting the Review and Thesis. Okay, let's dive in.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the Literature Review Myth.
First up, we really need to address the elephant in the room, because there are some incredibly common bad habits that just plague early-stage research writing. So, is a literature review really just a summary? Honestly, this is probably the most dangerous misconception out there. Far too many students approach this task as if they're writing a series of isolated book reports. You know the drill, just creating a list of summaries saying what author A said followed by what author B said completely in isolation. That is passive reporting, and trust me, it's a huge trap.
You can really see the stark contrast between two totally different mindsets here. First, there's the inventory approach. This is where you're acting as a passive reporter. It's super descriptive, totally devoid of analysis, and it just leaves you with a fragmented, isolated list of summaries. It completely fails to show that you actually understand the academic field. On the flip side, we have synthesis. This is where you become an active synthesizer. You aren't just listing facts anymore. You're processing and evaluating ideas, comparing where people agree or disagree, and weaving it all into a single coherent narrative. You literally become an active shaper of the academic discourse.
Moving right along to Section 2, True Function, Knowledge Bridge.
So what does this all mean? The absolutely crucial point here is that a literature review is essentially a knowledge bridge. It serves as the vital connection between everything that has already been established in your field and the brand new academic contribution you are trying to make. Remember, your thesis does not exist in a vacuum. By building this bridge, you're proving your grasp of the intellectual context, the theoretical approaches, and the ongoing debates. You are showing that you're continuing a respected academic tradition.
That brings us to Section 3, Strategy for Gathering Sources.
Okay, understanding the purpose is great, but how do we actually gather the right materials to build this bridge? Let's move to the practical phase of gathering intel. I want you to approach this not like a student frantically grabbing books off a library shelf, but like a highly strategic data analyst. To filter out the noise, you need strict selection criteria. First, relevance. Literally every single source must directly address your theme or research question. Second is authority. Always look for credible authors and reputable publishers. Third, hone in on influential works. These are the foundational studies that sparked major debates or established core methodologies. You're aiming for a healthy balance of those classics and contemporary research. And finally, and this is absolutely critical, you must filter out fringe literature. Stay away from speculative, outdated, or poorly sourced writings that could instantly undermine your credibility.
Now let's dive into Section 4, Thinking Tool, Literature Matrix.
So, you've gathered your high-quality sources. Awesome. But how do you process them without falling back into that trap of just writing a passive inventory? Well, enter the literature matrix. Now, do not mistake this for a simple spreadsheet or just some mechanical data collection table. It's fundamentally a thinking tool designed to support simultaneous synthesis. Instead of reading texts linearly, one after another in total isolation, the matrix forces you to evaluate multiple academic voices at the exact same time. It lets you instantly spot connections and contradictions. It's a real game changer.
Here is exactly how you set this up. Think of it like a dashboard with 4 specific dimensions. First, the theme or core concept. Second, the method or research approach they used. Third, the argument, which reveals the author's actual intellectual stance. And fourth, their empirical findings. By mapping out your sources across these 4 columns, you effortlessly spot patterns. You can instantly see if 2 scholars agree on a theme but use totally different methods. Or maybe they look at the exact same data but arrive at completely clashing arguments.
All right, shifting gears to Section 5, Writing Thematically. So the matrix has basically done all the heavy analytical lifting for you. Now we shift our focus from reading and mapping to actual execution. It's time to start the physical writing process. The secret to mature academic writing is organizing your review thematically, not chronologically.
Here is your 3-step workflow. Step 1. Identify the central themes, concepts, or theoretical debates right from your matrix. Step 2. Under each theme, critically compare where scholars agree and where they clash, and more importantly, explain why they differ. Step 3. Assess each scholar's position. Are they part of the mainstream, or are they presenting an alternative view? Because grouping your sources by theoretical debate instead of just a timeline, that demonstrates true academic maturity.
And as you weave these themes together, remember your ultimate goal. You are building an integrated narrative. The flow between your ideas absolutely must be logical. Your transitions shouldn't just be abrupt, jarring jumps from one paragraph to the next. You need to build transitional bridges. Explain to the reader why you are moving from one theme to another. Is it to show a contrast, a progression, a specific focus? This logical progression is what ensures your review reads as a cohesive, compelling story rather than just a fragmented list of facts.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 6, Connecting the Review and Thesis.
We've arrived at the final and definitely the most crucial step of our workshop. A brilliant, thematic literature review is honestly useless if it doesn't serve your ultimate goal. You have to connect the review directly to your own unique thesis. This all builds into a highly dynamic two-way relationship. It is not a linear process. On one hand, your thesis directs the review. Your core argument dictates exactly which literature is actually relevant and stops you from losing focus. But on the other hand, the review frames the thesis. Because as you read and synthesize the existing literature, you actually refine and sharpen your own argument, making sure your thesis is a direct response to established academic conversations.
Which brings us to this incredibly powerful idea. The entire process we've discussed today, it isn't really about summarizing the past. The ultimate goal of mapping the debates, synthesizing the themes, and building that knowledge bridge is strategically setting the stage to reveal the knowledge gap, highlighting what is missing, what is ignored, or what is totally misunderstood in the current literature. That provides the exact foundation you need to justify your own fresh research questions.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Look at your own work. When you apply the tools from today's workshop, when you finally move past that inventory mindset, use your literature matrix and start writing thematically. What knowledge gap will your research fill? The tools are now in your hands to carve out your own unique space in the academic world. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Now get out there and go build that bridge.